Hey, what's up, you guys? WWE fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. So, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 stars Kevin James, and what this film is about. It's about, Paul Blart. He was about to go on to this trip to Las Vegas because he got invited to like this security convention or whatever. And then what happens is these guys decide to invade the hotel that they're staying at, so it's up to Paul Blart, Mall Cop, to save the day. So what did I think of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2? Okay. This movie is awful. This movie is just, right off the bat, this movie is just terrible. This is one of the worst comedies I think I've ever seen in my life. One of the worst sequels I've ever seen in my life. This movie is garbage. Okay? Whew. Let's get into my positives. There are no positives with this movie. There just isn't. Well, let's just go into my negatives, and my negatives are the acting. The acting is not good in this movie. The acting is just terrible with this movie. Terrible, okay? It's terrible with this movie. Kevin James, listen, I like Kevin James. Yes, I said it. I like Kevin James. He's funny in The King of Queens. He's been funny in other movies, in my opinion. But in this one, it's just not funny. He's just not. It just seems like it's forced. A lot of the times, all it is just falling jokes. I mean, he does that run that I cannot stand. I couldn't stand that run from the first movie where he goes like, I can't stand that. That run, I couldn't stand it. At least it was only in twice in this movie. I was like, thank you. Like I just did before, all he does is fall down. Why? Just because you're a little bit chubby, why do people have to fall in comedies because they're a bit chubby? I don't get it. Melissa McCarthy does it. I can't come up with other people's names, but they also do it. It's just... Why? Plus, speaking of that, they make a bunch of, fat jokes at him. It's just awful. I mean, I didn't like his daughter in this movie. The girl from Austin and Ally. She wasn't that good. David Henry's in this movie. He's not that good either. The villains, forget about it. They weren't good either. So yeah. My next negative, the comedy. The comedy is just awful. The comedy is just terrible. This doesn't make you laugh once. At least with Mordecai, at least I laughed at Paul Bettany. At least he was funny. Nothing else about that movie was funny. There's literally nothing about this movie that's funny. Nothing. I didn't laugh once. Once. I only gave like a small little, to, one scene, and that was it. I didn't I didn't laugh. I just didn't. This movie didn't make me laugh. It was just terrible. The comedy is just awful. It's just terrible. And everybody's like, oh, why do they keep on making R-rated comedies? Do you see? Apparently PG comedies are not working either. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the story is just terrible with this movie. Reasonings, they make up stuff, for the first movie, like, the love interest is not in this one, from the first one, so I'm not going to really spoil what the thing that they used, that why she's not in this movie, but it is so ridiculous, and it's just, what? It's just terrible. It really is. It's just awful. I mean, a mall security, convention? What? Does that make any sense to any of you? Like, really? Yeah, the story is just awful. The writing is just, oh my goodness, the writing is just terrible. Oh my goodness, the writing is awful. Kevin James co-wrote this movie. Like, what? This writing's awful with this movie. The directing's not all that great with this movie. It just isn't. The directing's not good with this movie. I mean, you know, the pacing, oh my gosh, you just want this movie to end. You know, it's just, mostly everything about this movie is terrible. I did not like Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. And here's the thing, I enjoyed the first movie. That's right, I said it, I enjoyed the first movie. You know? Yeah, but at least the first movie at least had some jokes that were funny. This movie had no jokes that were funny. Nothing was funny about this movie. Nothing was funny about this movie in my opinion. So yeah. Guys, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 to me is now it's the most unnecessary sequel ever made probably. I mean, yeah, just Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 is awful. I couldn't stand this movie. This movie was just terrible. Trust me, I wanted to like this movie because I enjoyed the first movie and I enjoyed Kevin James, but I just couldn't. This movie's terrible. It's horribly written. The jokes are terrible. Kevin James, all you're doing is falling, making fat jokes at yourself, and you're just forcing yourself. Really, you are. So yeah. So it's time for my official grade on Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and my official grade on Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 is an F. This movie is terrible. I couldn't stand it. It's now my second worst movie of the year. My first is still The Loft. Dear goodness, I couldn't stand The Loft. But, you know, this movie is terrible. I couldn't stand it. It's one of the worst sequels ever made. So it's getting an F, F, F. So what do you guys think of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2? Leave it in the comment section below. And I'm WWE Fan 0599, and we'll see you all later. Peace.